Hello. You know, there are two words that really makes me go out of control, and these words are limited edition. That's why I cannot skip Kinera's hybrid model named Idun, probably. Idun. I'm not sure how to pronounce the name of this goddess correctly. I'm not really good in pronouncing names of northern gods, but anyway, it's a really good model. Kinera actually is a pretty well-known company, not under their name, but they are OEM manufacturer that makes really lot of different in-ear monitors for other companies, and only recently they started to release IEMs under their own name. I already reviewed their affordable model Seed, and now it's Idun, it's their mid-tier offering. They also have a flagship model, predictably flagship model named Odin. And they released Idun. It's a 3-driver hybrid with single dynamic driver and dual balanced armatures, but they've released it in few different versions, and one of them is this Deluxe Limited. And I didn't test regular versions, but this one I really like. It's kind of spoiler. Price is about $170 on the AliExpress for this limited edition. And now let's have a closer look. Package is really nice. You know, it's the case when smallest detail change everything. They made a nice cardboard box, and as you can see, shape is hexagonal, and it looks like some small box of deluxe sweets or some jewelry or something like that. Polygraphy is also really nice. Interesting swirly texture, logo, really everything done really nicely. On the back panel there are technical specifications, so single dynamic driver, dual balanced armature, 3.5mm connector, 0.78 2-pin plug, 1.2 meters silver plated copper cable. And also great feature, they offers final silicone tips. I really like them in Campfire audio, and with Kinera I also like them. Pretty sensitive, 112 decibels, but impedance is 32 ohms, and it's pretty good, so they are not really noise speaking. 7mm dynamic driver and 20 Hz, 20 kHz realistic frequency response. Box was wrapped in plastic, but of course I already unwrapped them. But buying them, you can be sure that you are the first buyer. Inside there is a warranty card with basic information and metal can with everything else. So minimalism in package, but great sense of style. In can you will have cable, Velcro cable organizer, in-ear monitors themselves, and a set of tips. 1 pair, 2, 3, 4, 5 pair of tips. Really nice set of tips. So nothing super fancy, but actually that's everything that you will need to start using this in-ear monitor. So accessory set and presentation is really good. In terms of design and build quality, Idun is also really good. Of course, we've seen such a case many times before. It's semi-custom in-ear monitors made of plastic, but Kinera selected really great pattern for them. It's interesting combination of green, violet, and some other colors with unusual and interesting texture. And actually Kinera also offers really good options for the regular version of Idun. They have transparent white with transparent clear shells with white faceplates, and another version with interesting kaleidoscopic faceplates. Ergonomics is nice, of course it's fitting greatly into almost every ear, no sharp edges, everything is smooth. You know, it's typical in-ear monitors number 2. Typical IEMs number 1, it's regular barrel-like in-ear monitors, and those will be typical number 2. So tips are fitting tightly. spouts have a proper angle, so they go right directly into your ear channels. Sound isolation is about average. You can improve it using, for example, symbiote tips. I'm not sure actually will they fit, but most probably they will. I probably should do some tests. And there is no protective grill, but probably some filters are inside. There is a small lip for holding tips, but stock tips have a narrower bore, so they fitting really tightly, so no risk of having tip stayed into your ear. I really like comfort of those. They are fitting good. They designed, of course, to be worn over the ear, and it's hard to wear them cable down. Stock wire, stock cable is good. Here used 2-pin connector with a bit recessed sockets, but there won't be any issues to find some third-party cable if you need. Cable has ear hook format, no memory wire here, but it secure cable over the ear, and cable itself looks really nicely. It's 4 wire per each earpiece, nice looking, really well braided. It goes to the splitter. This bead allows you to this bead works as a chin slider. Here goes splitter, and after splitter it goes braided way down below to the jack, regular 3.5mm straight jack, so everything is done really nicely. Cable is soft, has zero microphonics, it's not getting hard when it's cold, it's not easy, not tangling easy, so everything is pretty nice in terms of design, in terms of build quality, one of the best in ear monitors in this price range. And of course about the sound. As I've promised, I have tried Mandarin symbiote tips by Mandarins, and as you can see they are fitting pretty nicely. So if you need better sound isolation, it would be a decent option. But actually at the same time symbiote tips add more low frequencies here, probably because of the diameter of these openings. Mandarin symbiote tips are wider. So actually sound descriptions that I will do now, it's with stock tips. Of course, those I used only for demonstration purpose, but actually they fit in nicely and providing perfect sound isolation. And you know, with this limited version of Idun, Kinera proved that they can definitely tune sound nicely. They did non-mainstream tuning because Idun is pretty linear, but with a hint of added emotions. You know, usually such tuning you can expect from more well-known companies, from more major manufacturers, from more major brands, but as I've said before, Kinera is also doing in-ear monitors for quite a long time, just doing them for others, and this one are a great example. They just combined the best, strongest sides of different drivers. So bass here is pretty linear. They decided not to do typical low frequencies accent. So bass here is almost linear, but at the same time it's pretty impactful and it goes pretty deep. So if you want accented low frequencies, probably that's not a model for you. But if you like detailization, if you like texturing and at the same time and resolution, but at the same time you want to get weight of dynamic driver, Idun could be an interesting option for you. The best they are better option for some acoustic bass, for low frequency real instruments and so on. I actually like electronic music with them too, but keep in mind that they have less than typical bass head in-ear monitors. But I like control, and I like that there is no this typical drivers interlaps that is common for many inexpensive hybrid models. Somewhere in the low mids you will have noticeable dropout that spoils everything. Those are tuned in coherent way, and lows transition to mids almost fluidly. But of course we need some player. and we need some examples. As low frequency example, today I've got another track from Django Unchained soundtrack. It's from classical spaghetti western Day of Anger. I won't even try to read this Italian name, but I think that this tune is from those that everyone heard, but some people just can. It's quite possible that someone don't know the name, but almost everyone heard it. And it's a pretty intensive tune with some low pitched bass notes, and this in-ear monitors plays this part perfectly without accenting, without emphasizing low frequencies. I really like them. Some other examples, for example, could be Musica Nuda and other records with acoustic bass. Mids are pretty linear, with good resolution, without any additional coloration, almost natural, but not going deep into nitpicking, with good level of micro details, but without being too analytical and too thin. So it's not an attempt to create something tuned in audiophilic way. Notes on mids have good weight, and I really like it. For me, weight of mids are second by importance after the treble layering, actually. So they are really good in this aspect, and they building a pretty nice imaginary stage, a bit above average in width and about average in depth, but with good layering and with good positioning. So it's they are not really critical to the quality of records, so they play nicely with even not something perfectly recorded, but with good tracks, of course, they will shine. As a mid example, let me see my favorite. Yep, Magnum, Show Me Your Hand. You know, Magnum are performing more than 40 years, if I remember right, but only a few years ago I learned that such group exists, and I really fell in love with them, and their recent album, Lost on the Road to Eternity, is, well, it's typical signature Magnum. I really recommend you this group if you like arena-oriented rock music. They are really energetic, they are really know their business, and of course their signature vocal is what they make them stand out from other rock and probably pop metal bands. And with Kinera, this track really show all these strong parts, really engaging guitars, really good keyboard line, and of course that vocal too. They are really pretty good with almost every single genre, including heavy metal. They probably not the most mid-forward and not the most aggressive model, so if you want to listen metal with them, probably they won't be the most aggressive in terms of representation, but for my taste they are still acceptable. And treble, well, for the price, treble is pretty good. It has good resolution, nice attacks and decays, nice sense of realism. It's not sounding harsh, it's not sounding too fatiguing. It has even basic layering, but the extension is not extension is okay, but not as good as it could be. But anyway, I think for this price range it's also a well thought decision, because usually inexpensive in-ear monitors are created for the music that is not perfect in terms of recording and mastering, and such music often has some issues with upper treble. So they've got noticeable roll-off after about 8 or 9 kilohertz, and because of that they are not the most extended in treble, but part below 10 kilohertz is tuned nicely. It's well balanced, it's not too much, not too few, just perfect amount of treble for almost all genres. And as an example, I've got another movie soundtrack. It's Vladimir Kosma, famous. One of his most famous tunes. It's soundtrack of classical French comedy Le Jouet. Sorry for my pronunciation, probably my French pronunciation is even worse than my English. But anyway, everyone heard this tune. It's really bring you this. It's a kind of tune that brings you a lot of memories. Like you starting remember this Pierre Richard starring in this comedy, and it definitely gives you a smile. It's really light, really engaging, and it has a lot of high-pitched notes. There are some bells, some percussion, and a lot of high-pitched synthesizer notes, and Kinera plays those really nicely. In terms of pairings, you know, these in-ear monitors can play with almost every source. Of course, they the best for them will be something like Lotu 5000 Mark II or Opus number 1S, some mid-tier DAB with fun and energetic representation. Style-wise, they are perfect for jazz, for classical music, for everything that is probably benefit from natural representation. For some electronic music and pop music, some may lack a little bit of low frequencies accent, but I still enjoy them. And for brutal metal, they also can be lacking some treble, actually not treble, upper mids, forwardness, but it's still pretty okay for me. And actually in terms of sound, I think those are one of the best in-ear monitors in this price range from $150 to $200. And of course a few words about comparison. Unfortunately, of course, I can't recall every single model in this price range. There are a lot of Z models from $150 to probably $250. I think every second model that I review belongs to this price range, and actually a lot of them are pretty close sonically, and there is no huge difference in terms of so-called level. It's just a matter of small nuances in presentation. For example, BGVP DM6, well, probably they are more resolving, especially on the low frequencies and on the mids, but the difference in resolution isn't big, and you know, in 99% of cases I prefer Kinera more. Maybe it's subjective, but Kinera has less flows, like there is no issues with upper mids like in DM6, and treble is better defined here. It's a bit less extended in Kinera, but it's definitely sound more organic to me. And you know, there are a lot of models that sound totally different. For example, Falcon C, it's dynamic driver model, it's Sina on mids, a bit more aggressive on treble. Campfire Audio Comet is also absolutely another model with single driver but armature, but tuned close to the dynamic driver. It's a different representation, you know, it's not hybrid, and it's more organic, a bit more resolving, but a bit less weight on low frequencies, but with a bit more quantity of lows. You know, it's a bit of paradox, but sometimes weighty lows and massive lows are different, and probably you need to hear that to understand. It's hard sometimes to describe sound by words. Well, what else we've got in this price range? My favorite Hi-Fi Boy OS V3. They have a bit better treble extension and a bit more linear mids, but bass here is more technical, and actually mids are more weighty, so I like this tuning more. It sounds a bit more organic. Probably I forgot about some other models, but I can't remember everything, so feel free to ask. I will try to compare it or do at least a brief comparison from memory if I remember such models. So to summarize, Kinera did a pretty fun, pretty well-tuned model. Of course, it's not a giant killer, it's not something super universal. It's for those who like natural presentation, but without being too clinical and too analytical. So if you will have a chance to listen them, I definitely recommend you to do that. Thank you for attention.